The west coast of Cameroon, characterized by its rich biodiversity and thriving fishing communities, is increasingly vulnerable to the impacts of sea level rise. These communities rely heavily on coastal and marine sources for their livelihoods, making them particularly susceptible to environmental changes. Dr. Tata Sunjo, who is an expert in environmental governance and climate change, explains the intensity of sea level rise and structural adaptation mechanisms.
So, this is where we actually understand the intensity of sea level rise, which is one of the precaricities of climate change in globally. And we see that this road would have been taken off completely if the state did not embark on this massive structural measure to safeguard the road from the sea level rise intensity. So we would go a little further to see, and we can hear the sound of the waves, how intense they are, and so they come not only in terms of flooding coastal areas, but claiming more land, eroding more coastal lands, and this becomes very problematic, especially in communities that reside closer to these coastal areas. Those who have farmlands that have been consumed by sea levels, those who have farmlands that are not productive again because of the saltwater intrusions which have polluted the soils or made the soils more saline. So they are stopped, and what they do is that they try to engage in income generating activities, maybe bricklaying or carpentry. For ladies, they do things that are linked to hairdressing and all of those. So we shall see that in the communities as we go. So the road would have gone. This thing was done sometime around 2010, 2011. This structural measure. So if you look at the density, the density, this is called riprap. This is called riprap. It's a very ugly term, but the construction of ripraps to reduce, it breaks. The function is that it breaks the waves, So look at, you can imagine. So this road is is already down, right? It's below sea level. But when they were constructing the road, it was high up. The water was right inside.
In the middle of these challenges provoked by global warming resulting from thermal expansion and melting land ice, the human spirit is strong. People here are adapting. We capture fishermen who are repairing and modifying their boats to better navigate the changing landscape.
The sea level rise situation is so disastrous. When it comes, the water becomes so high and it destroys a lot of properties. Houses are being destroyed, whether built with caraboat or built with cement. Boats are being destroyed. Even a recent occurrence where, as a result of the high sea rise, somebody was taken out of his house and the guy was murdered by the high sea tides. So the situation here is so bad. Thank God for the intervention of the Cameroon government that sends fish doctors that came around to sensitize the local communities. Actually, there's no much about the community because of their lay mentality or their low mindset. They struggle to relocate during the day, or when the high tides comes, they relocate to the upper area. And then during the low tide, they relocate back to their normal residence because it is convenient for them to stay, as I always said, it is convenient for them to stay where their boats are because they say that is their lively source of income. So for them to stay far from their boat is very, very difficult. So during the high tide, they relocate offshore, and during the low tide, they come back.
When you look around, you see that these structures are almost buried by the debris that are brought by seawaters. And when you look from the mark down there, that seems to be the initial height of the structures here. But you can see, bring the camera, you can see down how the structures have been buried by the debris. So this is recurrent, and so it becomes very difficult to live here without opening your eyes. Just closing your two eyes might be very fatal, like we did here of a scenario where the water came and took somebody who was lying in his boat and went out. So this is the reality. Buildings are being buried in the debris of the ocean waters.
Further down the coast in Idaho, a different approach is being used. Here, the community has come together to create sandbag barriers against the growing intensity of wave action.
In the Buncha, where the adaptation mechanisms were somehow different, we are seeing sandbags very, very clear here. But you can see that they are also exposed, they are vulnerable because they are being destroyed. The sandbags are constantly destroyed by the ocean waters. So, again, the aspects of sustainability of the adaptation mechanisms is called to question. The Buncha, which is a very unique destination in Cameroon. Unfortunately, it's not too known. And one major characteristic of this area is that it's really wet, and science puts it that this is one of the wettest places in the whole world, in the likes of Cherrapunji. And so it becomes very difficult. I know we're going on our way back. It will be difficult for us not to have rains here.
Though there is power of community adaptation, there is need to provide training and resources to fishing communities to improve their adaptive capacity and equally foster collaboration between government agencies, NGOs, and local communities to share knowledge on best practices. By working together and finding creative solutions, these coastal communities can find ways to survive, even thrive in these changing environments.